Hi everyone, welcome to the We Are Family virtual reunion. We wanted to call this a family reunion because we are not just a group of patients, doctors, nurses, and ambassadors, but we really are a group of family, and we couldn't wait until next year to see you guys. We wanted to get together virtually, so thank you all for being here. We have here today our founder and CEO, Roger Magowitz, and Miss Arizona, Amber Bartow. Thank you guys both for being here.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Well, before we get started on your story, Amber, I know that, Roger, you wanted to give everyone a little bit of an update of what we've been up to this year.
Yes, we've had a very busy, robust year. COVID didn't keep us down. We've expanded our footprint as a foundation. We now have partnered with Medical College of Wisconsin and also have partnered with Sylvester Comprehensive Care in Florida, which we're very happy about and proud about. And obviously we did that just so we could help more patients and get easier access with great medical care. We also, in our first year of having Miranda join us, we've actually been able to put out 40 educational videos, as well as we are now working on our 15th podcast, yes, of which one of the up-and-coming podcasts will be of Amber. So please stay tuned to watch that. And Amber, we're so happy that you could join us. And I'll start off, Amber, with saying, as we were talking earlier, you said at a very young age you got involved with pancreatic cancer and being an advocate, and I'm really inquisitive to understand, how does a 13-year-old get involved to be an advocate for pancreatic cancer? Mm-hmm. So would you mind telling us a little bit about your story?
Absolutely. So when I was 7 years old, I met my mentor and my fairy godmother. Her name was Denise Schwartzman. I called her Miss Denise. And she really came into my life at a very pivotal time where I was doing things that were really out of my comfort zone. And she was just always this light of positivity. And not only that, she tried to make a big impact in her community. She tried to affect everybody around her in a positive way. She was in multiple different nonprofit organizations, youth development programs, and that's kind of exactly the legacy that she left with me. She built me up. She inspired me to be the best version of myself, and it's very true to say that I would not be sitting here as Miss Arizona, going to the 100th anniversary competition of Miss America, or accomplishing any of the other things that I have in my life without the impact that Miss Denise had on me. And when we lost her when I was about 13 years old to pancreatic cancer after a 10-year battle with pancreatic cancer, wow, which should I also say, I wanted to carry on that legacy. I wanted to leave that positive impact, and I wanted to mentor people like Miss Denise mentored me and inspired me to make a difference. And so I figured what better way to do that than getting involved in raising awareness for pancreatic cancer and just learning more about it through my time as a young teenager up until now. I'm 23 years old now, and I've been involved for about 10 years now. It has just consistently inspired me to hear stories of survivors, to hear stories of hope, and to hear all the progress that we're making within pancreatic cancer research and awareness. And I'm just so grateful to be a part of that movement and to be in the presence of other people trying to make a difference in pancreatic cancer, and to get to actually sit here and participate with you all in this amazing organization with all the impacts you have all made in the community.
Well, I think you have a very inspiring story, and I hope as people watch our family reunion event, they'll think about you, and they'll think about Miss Denise, and they'll think about how they too can be inspired and be motivated and be willing to give and to help. And obviously being Miss Arizona and being passionate about pancreatic cancer, I say right on, because that's extremely important to us, because it's all about having a voice. And it's all about sharing the good word and getting out there. Mm-hmm. And certainly we would all root you on in December for the Miss America, because really what better way to share the good word to have somebody up on a stage talking about pancreatic cancer and being able to touch the whole country with your story. So I would say, sitting next to you, Amber, I'm proud of you for your achievements. I'm extremely happy that, unfortunately, pancreatic cancer is a passion of yours. But, you know, collectively, if we all get together, we can all make a difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's what we're excited about today at this event. I mean, we usually will highlight our doctors and we'll hear from patients, but Roger had the idea to do something a little bit different this time around. You want to talk about that, Roger? How we'll be highlighting some different people?
Yeah, I mean, we normally always talk about the doctors and the patients, but this time we wanted to talk about the nurses and the caregivers, because they're sort of behind the scenes. Yeah. They don't get the spotlight, they don't get the kudos, but the truth is, they're the people that are with the patients all the time. And they really become your family. And so we also felt that this was going to be a family reunion, that a lot of times those nurses are more family than your own family. Yeah. And obviously they're there in your worst moment, in your darkest hole. That nurse is there to give you a hug or to tell you it's going to be okay. So we and I always feel so inspired, and we've just did a podcast with 2 nurses, and it went off extremely well. So we just really wanted to thank all of the nurses and all of the caretakers and let them know that you're sort of the glue that keeps it all together, and we're proud of what you do and thankful for what you do. Definitely
couldn't do it without you. So let's listen in on a conversation we had with a few of our nurses.
Hi, I'm Gail Jameson. I'm a nurse practitioner at Honor Health Research Institute, and I function in the role of a clinical investigator in our clinical trials.
Hi, I'm Joy Schaefer, and I'm nurse navigator at Honor Health Research Institute.
Hi, ladies. Thank you both for being here today. Joyce, I want to ask you a question. Who or what inspires you to keep going?
The patients. That's what inspires me to keep going. The opportunity to be involved in their care, be it virtually, be it in person, providing hope for patients, that brings me joy, and that keeps me going every single day.
That's so beautiful. Now, Gail, what are some of the most important lessons that you've learned in your career?
So I've worked in cancer nursing my whole career, which spans over 4 decades. And I love the patient interactions. And what I have learned is always listen. Always listen to what the patient is telling you. Dr. Von Hoff has a saying, the patient's always right. And that's rule number 1. Rule number 2 is the patient's always right. And so, but we learn, I think sometimes in healthcare, we want to do the talking, we want to be teaching, we want to be, kind of controlling the conversation. But I have learned just to sit and listen. And we just learn so much about the patient's experience. I'll ask people, if we could fix one thing in how you're feeling, what would that be? And I'm often surprised. I may think it's their fatigue, and they may say, no, it's my diarrhea. So I just think, giving people the opportunity to express what they're experiencing in their own words, that's a big lesson that I have learned along the way.
Just listening. That's a good lesson for all of us. So, Joyce, patients' relationship with their nurses, it's so important, and as well as the family's relationship with the nurses. What is some advice that you have for patients and families when they're relating to their nurses?
I think one of them, we kind of touched on one before, when the patient is meeting with their physician, to bring that extra set of ears. And then as you're establishing relationship with your care team, with your physician, with your nurses, I think it's helpful, especially people who have many loved ones, they have family, they have friends who care about them, to designate one person as your voice And that one person would be the point of contact when you're not in the clinic, there's a question or whatever, that they can contact the physician, the nurse, and then that one person can bring the news back to everybody else. For us as nurses who are caring for you, sometimes it gets, overwhelming might not be the right word, but when we get so many calls in for one patient, it kind of takes away from the focus. We want to take care of the patient. So designating one person is often very helpful. And also for you as well, when I talk with people on the phone, I kind of tell them, I'm giving you permission to not take everyone's phone call when they call you. They love you, they want to give you words of support, but sometimes you just need to take care of you. So take a step back, give that one person, give the phone number of that one person who is your support, and that can be your avenue of communication.
That's great advice. And Gail, you mentioned that you've been in this industry and career for many years now, worked with different patients with different kinds of illnesses. How are pancreatic cancer patients different?
Well, certainly any cancer patient has some similarities in terms of their fears, the unknown, taking this new journey. But I think our patients living with pancreas cancer tend to have a lot of symptoms. And because of where the pancreas sits and the two key functions, secreting insulin, secreting digestive enzymes, that people can have a lot of stomach issues, a lot of digestive issues, nausea, the whole gamut of things, pain. And it really presents a challenge and an opportunity for nurses to help people in terms of improving their symptoms. We have so many different techniques to help people. And to me, that brings me joy. If I have a patient who comes back to the clinic and says, boy, that recommendation made a big difference. I can now eat my breakfast, or those kinds of things, I think are not necessarily unique for patients with pancreas cancer, but they're common. Mm-hmm. And so I believe, and again, I have done this for many years, so I guess I'm biased, but that I think that patients going on this journey of treatment for their pancreas cancer, or even if they choose not to have treatment, need to have a nurse that can help them in terms of how to make each day as good as possible. Mm-hmm. And so again, to answer your question, I think the needs of patients with pancreas cancer are a little different than those of maybe other diseases.
Sure. Well, we work with Dr. Evans at the Medical College of Wisconsin, and he says that pancreatic cancer patients are the nicest people that you ever meet. So we like to say that one as well. Well, thank you, ladies, both for being here, and thank you for what you do. You guys are heroes every day, so we appreciate you.
Thank you. We're here to give hope.
Yes, we are. Thank you, Miranda.
Hi, my name is Lauren Newell. I'm a nurse practitioner at Prewitt in the Medical College of Wisconsin. I work in the Division of Surgical Oncology, and I've been in my role for about 2 years.
And my name is Gabby Pipchak. I'm also a nurse practitioner in the Division of Surgical Oncology at Prewitt in the Medical College of Wisconsin, and I've been in my current role for about 4 years.
Hi, ladies. Thank you both for being here. We just want to ask you some questions to highlight what you do. So, Gabby, we'll start with you, if that's okay. Describe a day in your life for work.
Yeah, I think the day of a life of a nurse practitioner can really vary and can be somewhat unpredictable. Here, it really depends on how the practice is structured as to what a nurse practitioner does. Here we are somewhat physician specific. So we work with one or two particular doctors, and our schedule really revolves around them.
Lauren, would you say that your day is pretty similar? Anything that you would add?
Yep, I think that our day-to-day is very similar to each other. Like Gabby said, it's very unpredictable. But that's one of the main reasons I like the job. Not every day is the same.
Okay, and Lauren, how do you handle the stress that comes with your career?
Yeah, I think that working in healthcare can be very stressful for anybody, us and the patients themselves. For me, I think kind of just removing yourself from the situation for a brief moment, getting up from your desk, taking a walk, kind of trying to clear your head is very important. I'm also a list person, so I work better when I have everything kind of listed out and organized. It's easier for me to accomplish those tasks. Outside of work, I always think it's very important to get outside, talk to your family and friends.
How do you handle working with patients' families?
I think they're just as important as the healthcare workers, especially, in the postoperative period, dealing with all the new medications.
We give out a lot of honorary nursing degrees to our family members who manage these things at home sometimes.
Yeah, everyone becomes sort of a mini expert, right?
Yes, a Florence Nightingale.
Who or what is it that inspires both of you to keep going when you feel down or like you're losing motivation?
It may sound a little bit cliche, but personally, I think the most rewarding thing is when patients come back and are so thankful for things that we may have done during their treatment to help them get through. This is arguably one of the most difficult and vulnerable times in their lives. So helping to navigate that process for them is can be a challenge. So we do help them with that. And what keeps me going is I love seeing the survivors, when they're at year 3, 4, 5, and they come back and we see how well they're doing.
Yep, I agree, Gabby. I think that, the patients that we deal with that have pancreas cancer, they're some of the most appreciative and grateful people that I've ever met. So I don't want to say it's easy caring for them, but it definitely makes our jobs worth it.
That's beautiful.
I come from a long line of nurses. My mom was a nurse, my aunt's a nurse. So I think it's kind of in your blood. My mom always jokes that she can't believe I wanted to become a nurse because of, all the things that she went through in her career and everything, that it's not an easy profession, but it's not for the faint of heart. But our responsibility and is very much just towards the patients. And as I mentioned earlier, these patients are just so grateful and so appreciative that it really just makes our job really worthwhile. And those are the people that inspire me.
Well, you ladies are both heroes every day. So thank you so much for what you do. We appreciate you. And we just wanted to take some time to hear from you and to honor you.
Thank you.
Thank you to the nurses who were on the video, and we also wanted to thank all of the nurses that we weren't able to put on the video, because without you guys, all of these patients would have a big problem. We really appreciate what you do. All of you have really become family, not only to us, but certainly with the patient. The nurses really become sometimes more family than their own family. And in the theme of this is a family reunion, we really just wanted to say thank you. We greatly appreciate what you do for all of the patients.
Mm-hmm. And another part of our family that we don't always focus on is our caregivers. And these are the people that have to sit at home with the patients and help take care of them going through one of the hardest times in their lives. And so it's important that we focus on those caregivers as well.
Yeah, and it was an honor for me to get to actually have a conversation with two of those caregivers, Kathy Zablisky and Trish Helmers. So let's listen in on that.
You have your tissues ready over there? Because,
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, there you go. And you are phenomenal, Trish.
Thank you.
You are phenomenal. Oh my gosh.
We thought it would be perfect to hear from both of you ladies. I mean, Kathy, a lot of people knew your husband and loved him very much. And then, as you said, Trish is in the middle of the fight right now. So hearing both of your perspectives, it's just really an honor that you both agreed to share. So thank you both.
Most welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I guess, Kathy, would you like to start sharing just a little bit about your background and your husband for anybody joining us that doesn't know your story?
Certainly. So, hi, everybody. I think many of you do remember my husband, Phil. Phil was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer in May of 2014. But basically, they told Phil to get his affairs in order and gave him probably 11 months to live. Well, we did not accept that, had a second consultation, and the third consultation brought us to the Honor Health Research Institute, where they were just starting up a clinical trial. This was the triple trial, partially sponsored by Seena Magowitz. So he actually had Whipple surgery in February of 2016 with clear margins. So we thought everything was great again, big celebration again. But again, the cancer came back. So we tried various different clinical trials, even traveling out of town at one point. But eventually his body just could not tolerate any more chemo, and he passed away in January of 2018. So our journey was long for stage 4. He lived for almost 4 years, which was unheard of then. And it had a lot of ups and downs, joys, but also unhappy times too. So I always felt that if we had to live that, that I would want to share what I learned on the journey with other people, with other caregivers, with other patients.
4.5 years ago, anyway, we lived in Utah. I'm a hairdresser. I own a big salon, and my husband is a pilot, and our kids were finally grown. And so we decided to do a new adventure and move to Florida. We moved here, and a little shortly after, we found out the worst news ever. He had pancreatic cancer. That was super hard. And so he went and got the Whipple surgery. We planned for it. He was only stage 1, stage 2-ish. And anyway, they kind of messed up on him. It's our story. He went on life support. They told me he'd never live again. Breathe again on his own. He was on a ventilator. And anyway, he's a miracle. He made it. We retaught him how to walk, do everything. And then when he got out, this is 2018, fall, they said, well, now you're stage 4 pancreatic cancer. So you got like 3 months maybe to live. You will do half chemo. You're too sick, to get too high of chemo. And he said, no way. He started doing his research, and we found a clinical trial in Arizona. He beat all odds. Like, it went clear, and he beat all odds after 10 months of the vitamin C chemo. And so then we came back home on a maintenance pill, and yes, some of the cancers come back, and we're still fighting, and we're still actively fighting. He's 3.5 years survivor, but we got told hospice like 3 times now, and we're still fighting. And we're winning. And we're here
winning.
And both of your husbands are inspirational, and both we consider, warriors and heroes. But today we want to focus on you ladies, on the caregivers. I mean, what you do is nothing short of incredible. So let's talk about caregiving. What is some of the hardest parts of being a caregiver?
worrying that because this disease, the statistics are terrible. And so I do worry about him, and then watching him suffer. I mean, suffer or go through all these treatments, that's pretty hard.
Kathy, what about for you?
Yeah, I would agree with you, Trish. For me, one of the biggest things was coming up with a communication style that worked for us. And I know everyone is different, but in the beginning, I wanted to protect Phil. I did not want to share my feelings. I didn't want to burden him with my feelings. So I was keeping everything inside, and that was not working for me. So I needed to talk to my best friend, and he was my best friend. So We actually initiated what we called our brutal honesty conversations. So everything was on the table. All those feelings, that the worrying that Trish just mentioned, all of that I told him and he told me, and we laid it all out, and we usually cried, but everything had to be said.
Trish, do you relate to those as well?
My husband is a very good communicator, and so we communicate together, and we talk about it, and he asks me. And the easiest thing too is I just love him so much, so it's easy to just want to take care of him and do everything, and because he loves me back and he does communicate with me very well. That is one thing that I was attracted to him for.
In the beginning, trying to get information out to family and friends, it's absolutely overwhelming. You can't do it. So you need to set up, either a personal Facebook page, or, we did Caring Bridge, or delegate some family member to kind of be the liaison with the rest of your friends and family, because you just can't keep telling people what's going on. Especially when things are not going so well. So that was another lesson. So
I completely agree. I had to do that. It was awful.
And Trish, you kind of talked about a few things that made it easier. Kathy, was there anything that made it a little bit easier for you?
Once we got that communication down, actually, most of it was easy for me, because he was the same beautiful man he was before he got pancreatic cancer.
And on those days that it did get hard and you did feel overwhelmed, like maybe you didn't want to keep going, Kathy, how would you motivate yourself to face another day?
Well, first I would go and cry in the closet if I had to, because sometimes the tears have to come out, and there was no way that was happening in front of Phil. So I would actually go in the master bedroom closet and just hide for a little while. But that it comes back to the respite. I mean, for me, I just had to take a break every now and then to motivate myself. I had to go back to nature. I had to take my camera to nature. I had to talk to other caregivers or family. But, it's hard for caregivers, because we feel guilty when we take a little bit of time. Really guilty.
Trish, what about you?
Like Kathy said, you do feel guilty. You feel guilty if you do stuff for yourself, because they're sick. And so it's like, you don't feel like you should do for yourself. But things that I have done is, of course, I try to exercise. I'd go on walks on the beach and kick the water and scream and cry and bawl and do that. We kind of have this dry erase board, vision board kind of, and we write down positive quotes. And anyway, that helps. And then also reading other people's stories, going through what we're going through.
So you both talked about that feeling guilty when you do take the time for yourself. How do you push past that feeling and make it a priority to take care of yourself?
It's very difficult. You go ahead, Trish.
It's difficult, but I was overdue on everything. I had the worst hair roots. I had no nails. I ripped them all off. I didn't have anything because I was 24/7 stressed and taking care of my husband. So when I came home, I was just like, I have to do something for me, or I'm not going to be able to move forward. So and my husband's like, go do anything, go shopping, buy anything, do whatever, makes you feel good. So I went and got pampered and got things done. And, my sisters came out and visited. So
I'm hugging you. I am hugging you right now on Zoom.
Because that was all recent, all that happened. So, yes, so I did that, and it made me feel better. It made me feel better to go get my nails done and get my hair done.
So like more like you, right?
Because I used to do that all the time, and I haven't had time to do that.
Let's talk about other warriors and like you said, the community that you've met, Trish. And we know that community in meeting other people going through fighting the disease is so important for our loved ones, but how is it for you as a caregiver having that community?
It's been wonderful. Like, so when we went for almost a year to Arizona to honor health, that's when we met Roger, Seena Magowitz, and he introduced us to so many other warriors. And I think, Phil, it's really important to have people around you and that are supporting you all the time, because we need it.
Kathy?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We couldn't have made it through, and I, as a caregiver, could not have made it through without talking to the other caregivers, and patients, but especially the caregivers, because they get it.
Kathy, with all the knowledge, gave us tons of knowledge about procedures, and also she gave Craig a flying pig from her husband Bill's legacy, and that's beautiful, and we still have it to keep going. And so I really do.
Now you're gonna make me cry, but yes.
Such a beautiful thing to see. I mean, y'all's relationship, and let's talk about, you said that Roger introduced you to. What has been your relationship with the Seena Magowitz Foundation, and how has the foundation impacted your journeys?
Well, for me, I mean, my husband lived so much longer than he would have because of Seena Magowitz. Seena Magowitz sponsored that first trial where he had a complete response. So, I mean, Seena gave us, the gift of extra time. So there's no way you can put a value on that. And Roger is the most wonderful, humble man. And, Phil and Roger kind of developed this personal relationship of just total trust, and to be able to go to the Seena events was so wonderful, and to see everyone else there, like Trish said, it's so wonderful. So really, Seena has been an integral part of our journey, and that's why I am always willing to do anything for Roger. When he asked me to speak today, it was like, yes, sign me up, because I am very happy to continue the relationship with Seena.
Well, you're family.
Yeah, you are family.
Trish, what about you guys?
Well, I totally agree with what Kathy said, but he has introduced us to so many and connected us with so many other warriors and everything. And we've only been to one big event because of COVID. So that was probably 2.5 years ago. And it was wonderful, that event. And Roger does call us personally, talked to me when I was alone and scared in California. And he gave me a contact of a friend in California. And he generally truly cares, and he is supportive. And so I just love it. And I love that Seena Magowitz Foundation is out there to find a cure for the cancer, and they fund so many trials, and my husband Craig's willing to do whatever trials out there, because that's what's gonna cure pancreatic cancer, is doing these trials, and we need someone to fund them and do this. And so I thank Seena Magowitz Foundation for this.
Well, thank you for being such a supporter, and for both of you for sharing your stories. As we close, what's one thing that you would say is maybe, the most important thing to remember as a caregiver?
It's really hard to come up with one thing. I kind of was thinking about this. And everyone is different, obviously. For us, for me, it was learning how to live life as normally as possible, because again, in the beginning, I wasn't planning any events. I thought life as we knew it was over. There was no future. Well, that wasn't a good way to live with pancreatic cancer. So we started making dates. We went out on dates. And again, this is before COVID. So, we'd go to a movie, we'd go out to dinner if Phil could do it. We'd go to a concert, we'd see family and friends.
Craig and I do try to live in the now and enjoy life. Every little second we have. Breathe, we're alive. We're never in life for any of us. And so just because he has a number on him, he's like, I'm not a number. Let's just live in the now and let's enjoy every moment. So that is really what we're trying to do.
Absolutely. Live in that moment.
That's beautiful. Kathy, any final words of encouragement for Trish?
You have proven, Trish, how strong you are. And I am, like I said earlier, I am constantly in awe of you. And your love, you and Craig, your love is so strong. You're just going to be there for each other and rely on each other and just keep going and never give up that hope, because there are so many clinical trials out there in the pipeline, partially due to Seena, but a lot of other institutions that are funding these trials. So there's so much more hope now. There really is. So just keep going, my friend. Just keep going and live in that moment, really.
Yes.
And this is for you. So yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you, ladies, both so much for sharing your stories. Thank you for all that you do and all that you have done for your loved ones battling this disease. And we continue to be inspired by you. Appreciate all that you do and for being such a big part of our family here at the foundation as well.
Thank you, Kathy and Trish. We greatly appreciate you joining us. And we just wanted to say thank you. And we love you guys, and hugs to everybody.
Now we'd like to take a moment to honor and remember those that we lost to this brutal disease within this past year. Many of these lives were extended because of the generous support of the donors to the Seena Magowitz Foundation. We really, truly do believe that we will find a cure for pancreatic cancer.
Thank you.
Yes, we do. And now let's hear it from a pancreatic cancer survivor himself, Stan Viticus.
Hi, everybody, and thanks for tuning in and joining this evening's event. I really appreciate that. I'm Stan Viticus. I'm a 13-year survivor of pancreas cancer and 2 Whipple surgeries, and life is good. And one of the things that I'm here for, as I've done in the past, is to ask you to help with funding. And the perspective I always want to leave for everyone is that, or the coin phrase is, cures follow money. This is something I've learned through 13 years of surviving and research and advocacy and learning and reading. And there are so many examples in our past history: the March of Dimes campaign to eradicate polio, the HIV virus, which is now largely a chronic disease. Breast cancer now has a 91% survival rate. St. Jude's medical research has increased the survival rate of childhood leukemia from 4% to 94%. All of these things, the COVID-19 virus, now Merck is coming out with a pill for COVID-19. All of these things occur because of money. This is all about money going to research and funding. So what I would ask you is that, Roger founded this organization 20 years ago when his mom passed, and he was frustrated at the fact that the doctors said there is nothing you can do. And Roger has raised some $12 million over the years in this foundation. He's done that by asking people to help. That's what I ask of you tonight. Please be willing to donate, but more importantly, please be willing to put together an ask letter to ask friends and family to donate. Liz can put together a donation link for you, and it's as easy as clicking on that link and uploading a credit card. And you can do like I did and raise $300,000 over the last 8 years or so, another $60,000 this year, by asking others to help. I can't do it all, you can't do it all, but there's power in numbers. So please contact me or Liz or Miranda. I'll get you a letter to write. All you have to do is identify friends and family members, email them, call them, and ask proudly to help for a charity that is such a worthy cause. Most people will be happy to donate because they're just happy that somebody is out there advocating for a cause this wonderful. So please reach out, and I'll tell you how to do it, and you'll feel good about any amount of money that you can raise. Thank you so much.
Folks, you've just heard from Stan Viticus, a 13-year survivor. That wouldn't have happened years ago. The only reason that's happened is because of your generous donations. So please, when you think about helping us, this is our event of the year. This is your donation for 2021. Think about people like Stan, because honestly, without your donations, we wouldn't be able to see folks like Stan. And don't worry about if you say, I can't give a lot, $5, $10, $25. Folks, it all makes a difference. Please help us, allow us to support clinical trials, and your dollars do make a difference. Thank you so much for joining at this event and all of your participation. And we certainly want to thank Amber for joining us, and we certainly want to root you on in December for Miss Universe. So everybody keep your eyes on Amber. She's ready to climb the ladder. Thank you very much for joining our family reunion.
Well, and thank you so much for having me. It's been my honor to participate, and I appreciate your support as I head to compete for Miss America, and I'm just happy that I got to be a part of this event today.
Well, thank you.
We'll be rooting you on December
16th.
16th. Okay. And don't go anywhere, because up next is Bailey and the Boys and Alyssa Bonagura, so you won't want to miss that.